cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
Guys, Messenger of the Cross at Pulse Point Media. So I'm just looking at this document today, and it's by Emerging Technology Institute, NDIA, NDIA. And as you can see, you know, the MRAP type vehicle and the laser systems and the directed energy weapons on it. And as you go down, you can see this is actually, you know, from this institute, but this is Directed Energy Sourcebook. How wonderful. So we can take a look at this source book and we can see a lot of things. And this is just a breakdown. I'll read it about the Directed Energy Weapons Sourcebook. Basically, it doesn't say weapon, but that's what they talk about in the body of all this. The Directed Energy Sourcebook is a publication of NDIA Emerging Technologies Institute designed to provide a publicly available index of companies, government entities, and select universities related to directed energy. For the purposes of this report, the term directed energy, quote unquote, includes both high energy lasers or HELs, HEL, that's why the acronym is there, and higher power microwaves. Oh, you mean like pulse point, pulse microwave energy being directed and pointed at you? Oh, like in your house, in your neighborhood, high power microwaves. But they're not frying us. They're not electrocuting our organs. They're not trying to entrain our bodies to be dependent on a falsified stream of energy that's been copied and in a bidirectional way. That means two ways. That means data is going and data is coming. And really on a carrier wave directed at the brain and the nervous system of all of us. And a lot of people, they think, well, they're not targeted, but I mean, we're all under this surveillance in live time. And it goes on and it says, by compiling this directory as a comprehensive reference to the field, ETI hopes to direct agencies and companies who are looking for specific directed energy solutions towards providers. Don't you love how they use all this like language? The providers, you mean the ones who are torturing innocent citizens and just getting away with it in this silent weapons for quiet wars? I mean, providers who have demonstrated proficiency in a wide variety of directed energy components, materials, systems, as I've always said, whole broadcast systems over entire cities in America, at least, and of course, testing infrastructure. That means experimenting on you. At least in my case. Many of the companies listed in this source book have domain expertise. So these are the quote unquote experts in the field in a wide range of potential defense. Oh, look, and civilian applications. You mean like the LRAD being used, the sound frequency weapon being used on crowds? Is that what you're talking about? That's just one of the many platforms and weapon systems that they have. And it says, and defense is not necessarily their primary source of revenue. Okay. This is just this publication. You can see the table of contents and why I'm sharing this. This is about the Directed Energy Sourcebook. They don't say weapon right here because, you know, that might be too obvious and, you know, all the investors might run away. I doubt it, but that's probably why they don't put it in the table of contents. But there's the foreword. What is the Directed Energy Sourcebook? And the methodology gets into, all these companies interacting with each other and the government, like the Fortune 500 companies, the weapons manufacturers, the intelligence services, and the NGOs that are doing this to innocent citizens. And it's not just that. It's different morphing systems that allow these people to watch us in live time and torture us in live time and get off on it. And so here we have all the companies that are involved in page 7. All the companies. Then we get into high energy laser companies, of course, but they just don't exist. And we're just crazy and mentally ill. And we just, they're not really doing this to the general public, right? High power microwave companies. Okay. US government entities select universities, as it said. And after many years of regulation to the realms of science fiction, directed energy weapons, or DEW technologies, have advanced to the point of near-term fielding for use by operational forces in multiple domains. You mean like the civilian who's being, and the citizen who's innocent, no due process, just being tortured and eliminated? Is that the multiple domains, like in your neighborhood? Waging war in an asymmetrical way against citizens that don't even know they're being targeted? I mean, that's the nature of these cowards. That's the nature of them. They just talk all with this business language and like this kind of like, lawyers talk with a legalese. And war is peace and freedom is slavery. And, there's too much money involved for these people to stop targeting us. And that's just one aspect of it. The fact is there's people that target me that don't get paid. And it's a whole gamut. So I don't just drill down on one thing. Like I hear a lot of fake targets, insisting this, insisting that, when none of us really know the full picture. We're just getting bits and pieces, especially from their manuals. And, we can see the patents and everything else. So this has resulted in a variety of systems that are ready or nearly ready for production and deployment. You don't think the local sheriff's office working together with the threat fusion centers has these weapons in the name of terrorism and fighting terror, and then they just label you? There has to be some standard, right? No, there's not. There's just profile policing and then meting out the punishment that you so deserve. That's what they try to get you to believe. Because, you might not be conforming to this tyrannical mob rule mentality. So for the Department of Defense, they're very involved, and we see before in different videos, the funding that cops, community-oriented policing, and all the grants that the local sheriff's office gets, to be able to carry out this kind of neutralization, they call it. You're just being neutralized, Yeah, sure. All your resources, your time, energy, and money are going to be directed at surviving us. And they don't stop, guys. Anybody who claims that this stops when there's an apparatus that's so big surrounding the deployment and use of directed energy weapons, you think these people are going to stop wanting to make money? Is that what you think? So I hear fake targets always talk about, oh yeah, they're not trying to kill us. If they were trying to kill us, they would have done it already. Well, it's like, do you understand the principle of death by 1,000 cuts? Untraceable, because of the fact that we're like a frog in the pot and the heat slowly gets turned up. Eventually the frog, if it's slowly turned up, it won't jump out of the pot. But if it's, thrown into a boiling pot right away, it's going to jump right out. And it's the same principle for what they're doing with us. It is like death by 1,000 cuts, and everybody has their part and gets off on it. And so the integration of DEWS promises to revolutionize warfighting capabilities. And we've talked about that. We've seen that. Providing cost-effective solutions to the most challenging global threats. You mean like being free and thinking for yourself? Is that what you mean? Including, for example, extensive counter unmanned aircraft systems. So we see all these drones, we see all these things flying above us. All these capabilities, the widespread integration of DEWS systems. Like I said, we are submerged in these technologies that surround us all. And these systems will optimize mission effectiveness, mitigate risks, and ultimately contribute to the preservation of lives. Isn't it funny how all the world tyrants in history, in world history, have always made the excuse that we're here to just keep you safe and save lives. And when there's nothing to save, they create the problem and then pose as the savior to the very problem they create. And it's all done. All the abuse is done in the name of saving lives, in the name of keeping things safe, as they just label you and manufacture evidence against you and do evil in your name and then calling attention to it, saying you did it. The evolution of DEWS capabilities has been accomplished or accompanied by significant investments from industry, academia, and government agencies in research and development, testing, and the prototyping of new and improved weapon systems. The utility of directed energy technologies extends far beyond defense applications, providing an opportunity for the DoD to articulate a strategic vision and a corresponding demand signal that can benefit the directed energy industrial base, as well as multiple commercial sectors. DEWS' potentially transformative impact on defense holds crucial importance. That just means defense means war against you. That's, these big companies that pretend they're victims, to gain more power and control. But everything is reversed and flipped on its head in their language, keeping you safe, saving lives, as they torture many of us to death. So amid the era of great power competition, challenging government agencies and decision makers to keep pace with the myriad of companies, both new and established, some primary commercial and some primary focused on defense customers capable of advancing their missions through directed energy solutions. As military services and government agencies seek to modernize, the need to connect with potential suppliers and solution providers capable of accelerating. They've got their foot on the gas in the face of and minus all the people that they're experimenting on and torturing. And this transformation becomes imperative. Yeah, because when enough people wake up, that tipping effect will happen, hopefully, and people will start to realize, they're not playing games. This is a new industry, a new business model of targeting us. The Directed Energy Sourcebook, initiated by NDIA's Emerging Technology Institute, aims to facilitate connections between directed energy suppliers and government agencies, providing a valuable tool for those seeking directed energy solutions. ETI anticipates that this dear sourcebook will serve as a guide to explore innovative ways of incorporating and leveraging highly effective directed energy capabilities. So here we have directed energy ontology, and it just covers these systems and this architecture. And we have all the high power microwave companies, the US government entities, select universities, as I said in the beginning. And wouldn't you know, just a big microwave, you know what I mean? Just a huge microwave. And they have that are handheld and much smaller, and the ones that they use when they sit outside your house and direct it at you and torture you as they wait in shifts around the clock targeting you. You know what I mean? Because you are their focus. You are their job. And they get many do-gooders that don't question anything to go along with it. But here's all the companies, and we have a list of all the different companies that are involved, role in directed energy weapons. And so you can look at this document. It's www.ndia.org. And like I said, I shared the title already. I just wanted to share this so that people can see all these different companies and what they're involved in, what their role is. And the list goes on and on. It goes on and on. So you can see right here, microwave technologies and all the different companies that are involved are listed on the left. We have high energy laser systems, weapon systems. I mean, people think that they're just using these lasers to act like a shield and a dome for missiles. But meanwhile, you see in the fake media, the fake news, as they, do this in plain sight and invade Venezuela and get everybody that is in their military to just drop their arms and get on their hands and their knees like they did in Iraq and beg, for it to stop, for the torture to stop. You know what I mean? And there are many other places that this has been done in our country and abroad. And they openly talk about this asymmetrical war, and there's too many useless eaters, and they've got to run this death by 1,000 cuts and make it look like an accident, make it look like you did it to yourself, because after all, you're just mentally ill and crazy and imagining these things. Because when everybody agrees together, you thought it was going to get me to doubt. You thought I was going to not keep trusting my intuition and myself, but it didn't work. And it still doesn't work. Because time and again, us as targeted individuals have gone to the next level and have qualities and abilities that they only wish and dream that they could have. That's why they mimic you and mirror you and copy you so much. It's not just why. Because there are military style tactics of abuse and control that they're doing, and it's that organized. And remember, like I said before, and I showed the video, you can go onto YouTube and just click Obama calling for a civilian national security force just as strong, just as well funded are his exact words. And many people just cheered and clapped and enjoyed that. But you realize he's calling for an organized proxy army that you typically see in fascist or communist countries, like the brown shirts, like the fascists. And I'm not political. I'm just saying it doesn't matter what your flavor is. If it's fascism, communism, socialism, it's all basically a command and control structure at the top where it is a tyranny. And then they're going to create the tyranny to drive you into the arms of the saviors, the government and all these companies and corporations. Save us, please save us. So the very ones doing the abuse, they got many people going and begging for the very same people that are doing this to many of us. And people just go and want to beg the government for solutions, which is ridiculous. Our country was dissolved. We went under corporate receivership, and the Federal Reserve is there to manage the bankruptcy and consolidate the debt. And you and I have become collateral against the debt that the government borrowed, and we are pledged. And the infrastructure of this country, as they restructured the whole entire legal system to carry out emergency executive orders to destroy us, to eliminate us. And many people say, well, they're not trying to kill me because I would be dead already. I mean, if it wasn't for God in my life, I would be. But there are many times where they were going for broke. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if it wasn't for some supernatural means of deliverance, I would have been toast. But these are all the companies I just wanted to share. And anybody can go look at this document and see all the companies and what They supply beam control, system interrogator, optics, laser source. These are all the functions of these companies and what their involvement is. So you got the company on the left, and you've got what their involvement is on the right here in this right-sided box. So you can see high energy laser companies, and it lists all the laser companies, all these companies that are involved, but we're just, imagining things. We're just, this is all imaginary. The investors, the NGOs, all these big corporations and the government, we're just imagining that the intelligence services carry out asymmetrical war on the regular population, trying to radicalize us. And you can say whatever you want. You can pretend you're so special and that's why they're targeting you. But I just, realize that there doesn't need to be a reason. They just select you. And then people spend like 20 years trying to figure out a reason when that doesn't matter. It should never be going on in the first place. So people try to find a reason to try to give themselves hope and encouragement. I get that. But at the same time, it's just a mess that they try to lead the target to believe certain things that are not true. And the art of misdirection is always at play. And here we have the Directed Energy Weapons Supply Chains report, Securing the Path to the Future. You might want to read that. And you can download this too, but you might want to read these things and you might want to go through all the different companies and what they do. Beam control, laser source research and development. So if there's anybody to blame, it's all these companies coming together in a coordinated, organized way under a national security state in which they create one crisis after the next and suspend all human decency in a silent, covert, and many of the times overt for me, because I can't speak for everyone, but very overt and aggressive radicalization through torture program. And not all of us are the same, obviously, but we do share in a lot of the tactics that are being used by these companies who call for it in the public sector big time. So I just wanted to share this, guys. And you can look at all these different companies and go through the list. And they say emerging technologies for defense at these conferences. And they're huge conferences. And they've got all their doctors and experts, that everybody just listens to because they're wearing a white lab coat and just, you know what I mean? And everybody just worships and bows and everybody's wanting to get on board and get some of that money. So lots of investors, lots of companies, and the government is just one sliver in this amalgamation where they come together as one. Okay. I would say that this is a worldwide dictatorship or technocracy run and controlled by the technology. Oh, look, high power microwave companies. All these are the companies. What do you think this means? RTX is the name of the company, Research and Development with Microwave Energy. No big deal. Oh, look, antenna companies. So they've covered every sector and have gotten all the businesses to be on board thinking they're keeping people safe and saving lives. And that's the bottom line. And there are sadistic ones who love and enjoy and get off on torturing people and, doing it remotely, doing it at a distance so that, there's nothing you can do about it, but just endure and suffer the torture like many of us have done. Ooh, Department of Energy, National Labs, Office of Secretary and Defense Entities. Okay, and it goes on and on. The Department of Defense, Missile Defense Agency, manufacturing and institutions, DOD, Department of Defense. And these are the weapon systems that they are using and that they will not stop using because they have the technology in place to make you look crazy, to have that deniability, death by 1,000 cuts, mimicking, mirroring, copying, following. and just wanting to eliminate and letting you know it so that when you talk about it, it gets you all up in arms and, hot and mad. But that's what they want, so I don't give it to them. But that's exactly what they want. They want to justify labeling you as a terrorist, labeling you as whatever they label you. You're a danger, you're crazy, you're violent, you're going to hurt people. And this is the excuse and justification that these simpletons use against us, these NPCs that never, ever look into anything. And I'm just going to read this and then finish. But the National Defense Industrial Association's Emerging Technologies Institute performs research, hosts events, and bolsters public awareness. You mean public dumbing down through educational products and webinars. So this is all around us, guys. Focused on defense technology, modernization, and innovation, ETI also works to create a policy environment. Oh, you mean like the UN disarmament treaty on directed energy weapons that they don't follow? All those laws that they passed assuring us that this isn't going to get out of control, right? When meanwhile, they've been doing it for like the last 20 years. So this is efficient development, okay, and delivery of new systems and technologies for the defense enterprises. ETI engages industry, academia, policymakers, and the public to explore emerging technologies, impact on national security. Remember what I said. We're here to keep you safe. We're here to save lives. And nothing can be investigated because they just declare, hey, it's a national emergency. That's why when you go to the cops, they just look at you like, oh, we got one on our hands that's being tortured, and they all seek to cover it up. You know what I'm saying? And make you look crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they move, how they roll, because they know already and have been informed by these people that are seeking to inform academia, policymakers, and the public to explore these emerging technologies and just give them to the local sheriff's office. Don't worry about it. Just use directed energy weapons on the general public. So impact on national security. Like I said, this is why nothing can be investigated and it's just buried because it's a crisis and it's emergency rule under PDD 51, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, under NDAA, under the Patriot Act. They just declare you to be a terrorist and then call it a national security matter so that nothing can be investigated, so the torture can't stop. And look at opportunities for industry-government partnerships. Isn't that fascism? I mean, to increase U.S. competitive advantage. And believe me, folks, they're experimenting on us when they test these weapon systems and use them on us on a daily basis. My skin is tingling right now. Pins and needles, just tingling all over. And sure, doctors can say, oh, it's just nerve damage. You must have hit too many people when you played hockey. You just must have injured yourself. And that's what it is. Go back to sleep. Frying your organs and burning you in your own house, the palms of your hands, the bottoms of your feet, to wake you up every single night. But no big deal. So these workshops support NDIA's membership and the Defense Science and Technology Enterprise as part of its nonpartisan 501c3 mission. And, I've talked all about how the local churches in America are just nothing more than businesses that are cults that are under the 501c3 banner, following all federal mandates, and have submitted themselves to the federal government and get subsidy money because of their 501c3 nonprofit status as they get rich. Selling you 3 points on how to have a better life, 3 points on how to get your best life now. You know what I'm saying? It's all psychology and it's all state-run propaganda. And the 501c3 cult called a church in America is corrupt. And believe me, many pastors and so-called Christians participate in this targeting like it ain't no thing. Like it ain't no thing. So you guys can go check this out. For more information, visit emergingtechnologiesinstitute.org. What a lovely document. I'm just going to scroll back up to the top so you guys can see the heading of this document. The Directed Energy Sourcebook. And you know, all these people, we can go through chapter by chapter. All of them are a part of this. And the list goes on and on. This is just a short list, but you can actually see what companies are involved, who participates, and what they specialize in. So I love you guys. Again, Messenger of the Cross, Pulse Point Media. Never give up, never give in.